TV. So, 30 years plus now, a Liverpool supporter. I'm 38 years old, but if I can to when I can remember first supporting Liverpool, I would say I was about 5, 6 years old, and from then on it's just been some journey. So I'm just going to go through that with you this morning, and then the reason why I'm doing this video is because I would love supporters to come on and give me similar stories of their own journeys. So ever since I was a young boy, Liverpool was the team for me. My nana was born in Southport, Merseyside, and she was a big influence in getting me presents every Christmas, every birthday, always reminding me of Liverpool. I can still remember every Christmas and birthday looking forward to my nana's present, because it was always be something to do with Liverpool, and obviously my mum as well. God say, I'm going back some years now, but I remember the early years of my era of supporting Liverpool was the days of Steve McManaman, Vegard Kegham, Stig Bjornaby, Neil Ruddock, John Barnes coming towards the end of his career. Only seen the last year or two of Ian Rush. Never seen Kenny, so I missed Kenny by a few years. And it's been a journey, it really has been a journey. I still remember watching Liverpool 4, Newcastle 3 in my mum's mum's bedroom, because we had remember the NTL boxes, and we had one downstairs and one upstairs. And it's still to this day, along with Istanbul, the greatest match I've ever watched in my life. It was just unbelievable. Stan Collymore scoring in the 90th minute, and the famous Kevin Keegan hanging his head over the advertising board. But that era for me was the best days of my life. It's actually quite sad, really, because I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know if any of you have played the game. I was one of those kids on the playground which dreamt of being the next Robbie Fowler, dreamt of being the next McManaman. I just gave everything. I gave my whole childhood to football. Every day, playing on the fields, playing on a Saturday, playing on a Sunday, training through the week, playing until your mum dragged you in when it was getting dark. Jumpers down on the grass. You know, it's just football to me was everything, and I just in them days, it was the days when the FA Cup final was on, from 9 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock kick-off. It was a day when the FA Cup felt like the greatest day of the year, and if you got to the FA Cup final, you was privileged. It was like something that the football gods had given you to enjoy that day. And I love football. One of the biggest things I love and miss when the season finishes is not just the match, because the match is what we all love, but I love the build-up, the punditry. I love all of the videos they do to build up the Liverpool-Manchester United game, to build up the Merseyside derbies, the previous footage. I love it when we watch the old classics like the Everton FA Cup final in '89. An absolute belter of a match, 3-2, do you know what I mean? I love all the classic games like beating Real Madrid 5-0. Some of the memories I've got. I was in the Cop end for Olympiacos. And don't even get me started on Steven Gerrard, because if you was going to ask me now if you could go back again, I would love to go back again to being a kid again. This is what I meant by being kind of sad. I look at a football pitch now with all the nets up, and I just want to be back there again. I just want to be that kid who's got that sparkle in his eye that's scoring. I scored a lot of goals for my school. I was a really, really good player as a youngster. I had a couple of trials at Norwich City. I was at the Peterborough United School of Excellence. Ended up being part of Grantham Town as well, non-league when I was 16. Played a couple of tournaments in Holland as well. So I was really decent, but you've got to be unbelievable now to be a player. That's why I hope my Lucas can make it. But anyway, I just vision just being that kid again when it's peeing it down with rain and I'm running through on goal because I was a striker, and putting that goal in the net, putting that ball in the back of the net, and seeing your mum or You know, your family on the touchline screaming and celebrating, and the amount of trophies and medals I won as a kid. I just loved the game. So, yeah, Robbie Fowler. Robbie Fowler was my hero. I thought I was Robbie Fowler every Sunday, Saturday morning. I really did. So when I see a football pitch now, I just wish I could go back there. But not just to being a kid again, but just that era. Every single Liverpool player was British. I don't mean that I'm against foreign players, I'm not, but what I mean is they were all British. They were all lads you could relate to. I mean, if you look at Liverpool's 11 against Newcastle United, you had David James in goal, you had Jason McAteer, all British I mean, not, Jason McAteer at right back, Neil Ruddock, I think it was John Scales or Phil Babb at the centre back. Left back was, I think it might have been, was it Stig? I think he was the only foreign player we had. The midfield three was like John Barnes, Jamie Redknapp, who else is in there? John Barnes, Jamie Redknapp, I think that was the midfield. I think we had another couple. McManaman on the right, and then Stan Collymore, Robbie Fowler. I mean, I still to this day have never ever seen a centre forward like it in my life, because I can describe Robbie Fowler in the greatest way possible. There is no player that I have ever seen where the commentator doesn't even say, here's a chance, this could be a goal. You know how a commentator builds up a moment where he goes, oh, there's a chance here, this could be a goal. No, in them days it was just, Fowler! That's all Martin Tyler used to do. Every time the ball just went to him in the box, he just went, Fowler! And that's because he knew it was going in the back of the net. If you look at all of Robbie Fowler's goals, every one of them was, he just screams his name, because it's going in the back of the net every time. He didn't think, he just instinctively finished every time. And you all love Mo Salah, everybody loves Mo Salah, everybody loves Sadio Mane's and Bobby Firmino's, but if you're going to ask me, Salah's not even in my top 3 strikers. Sounds mad, doesn't it? It's not even in my top 3 strikers of all time, because my top 3 are Robbie Fowler, because he's my favourite, always will be. I'd say slightly just wins it, but Luis Suarez. And then my third best is Torres. They were my favourite 3 of all time, because they were all part of an era of my life. Now Fowler was the kid I wanted to be, the kid I was in the playground. They even got told I looked like a young Robbie Fowler as a kid, because he had the little black hair, the little cheeky smile and the little grin. I remember one of my managers used to say to me, I'm like a little Robbie Fowler. So he was my hero, and I was always like pretending to be him in the playground, even in my driveway at the house I used to live in, blasting it against the gate. And we were quite lucky at our house where we used to live, because we used to have 2 trees in the back garden. So me and my brother used to get the washing line pole and hang that on top of the 2 trees, the branches, and it'd be a goal. Some of the football we played in that garden, God take me back then. So anyway, Fowler was my hero growing up, along with Steven Gerrard at a later part. Torres, to me, was like the best thing since sliced bread. He really was. I mean, when he came along, I remember watching his debut against Chelsea in my mate, no longer with us, Matty Provero's house, twin brother, his twins, they were twins. And I remember we played Chelsea and he scored the opening goal and skipped past John Terry and calls it into the corner. And that, for me, he just burst on the scene, Fernando Torres, and it was just one of those signings where you stand up and you just take notice. You just go, we've got a kid here. The famous story about his armband breaking off and You'll Never Walk Alone being on the inside of it. You just bought into Torres straight away. Good looking lad, big physical presence. A lot of people don't realise that he's a fucking unit, Torres, He was tall, strong. Even now, look at him, he could be a doorman, he's a tank. But yeah, he's easily, and his goal record is out of this world. And then you move on to Luis Suarez. Sorry, Suarez was second, Torres was third. I jumped the wrong one there. But Luis Suarez for me was absolutely box office. You couldn't keep your eye off him even when he didn't have the ball. He didn't even have the ball. You were just glued to, watching Liverpool, you were just glued to Luis Suarez, because he was at it all the time. He was pulling people's shirts, he was pushing people, winding people up, getting taken out late. I mean, the amount of fouls that boy got, the amount of late tackles that went in on him, because people were trying to put him out of the game, people were trying to purposely injure him, but he just didn't get injured. He still doesn't get injured. I can't believe that we, obviously Villa are trying to do it now, but there was a spell when he would have returned to us, and I can't believe we didn't go back in for him again, because even now, you know, Divock Origi's gone. If he said to me, and I was Jurgen Klopp, I'll give you 12 months, I'd have him, because he's still fucking brilliant. Look at his goal record. His goal record is out of this world. He's up there with Messi and Ronaldo. His assists and goals are out of this world. And it goes all the way back to his days at Groningen. And Nacional in Uruguay. He started at Nacional, then he went to Groningen in Holland, and then he went to Ajax, and then he went from Ajax to us. But he had long hair at Ajax, and he was playing up front with Klaus-Jan Huntelaar, and he was brilliant then. And for Liverpool to get him for 30 million cheaper than what fucking Everton had just sold Richarlison for is absolutely unbelievable. And to say that we got, you know, Torres and Suarez for less than what Harry Maguire cost Man United is just, it just makes me piss myself laughing every day. And it's like I say, growing up, it was amazing football. The 90s for me was the best. I know we didn't win any league titles, but I just loved it. Even on the radio, even when you was listening to Liverpool on the radio, it was like, here's McManaman into Fowler back to McManaman going forward into Barnes, and it was just fucking, it just got you on your feet. It's like, oh, this is just the way that it was Alan Green or something, I think his name was, or Barry Davis, I think it was Alan Green, the way he said, or Barry Davis, it was one of the two, the way he described the matches, and even the telly, you had Andy Gray and Martin Tyler as the commentary team. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but Andy Gray and Martin, they were absolutely, I know Martin Tyler's became a little bit shit now, but he was brilliant in the early 90s, especially with Andy Gray. Andy Gray, some of the things he would come out with, like that, yeah, beauty, against Olympiacos. Football then was just amazing. You had, you know, the hatred against Man United, they were winning everything, so you hated them. So you, Anfield on them games were amazing. I still remember the 3-3 draw when Ruddock scores the header. I mean, that was amazing. So going through all them eras as a Liverpool fan was it makes it special that we had to go through all that for us to win the league, and a bit not special because, again, I was very fortunate to work at Anfield when we won the Premier League, but I'd have rather done it I'd have rather been at Anfield and when we won the Premier League, where it was pandemonium, where the fans were all going all mad, tears would be in the stands, everybody would have been celebrating. I mean, I actually went in at 6 in the morning the next day because I was one of the 500 that was in the stadium, and it was like a carpet of confetti. I mean, it was everywhere, that stuff, and it was all personal messages from Liverpool fans all on these confetti. Quite a clever idea. And I just thought, I looked around and it was a scene of just pure beauty. Just, you could tell that something huge had happened in that stadium, but the only difference was, the biggest thing is it should have been full of, I don't know, mobile phones all over everywhere, loose money everywhere, I don't know, packs of fags everywhere, I don't know, flipping wallets. What I mean is, it should have been a scene of 50,000 nutters that have just gone absolutely crazy and witnessed and lost everything out of their pockets, just jumping around going mad. I should have been ringing up, handing in a big box of personal belongings every single hour, you know, but it was a shame that, and that's the only sort of thing that I look back on when we won the league with a little bit of a regret. But the fact is, it happened in a pandemic year. It's the same with Rangers and they're winning the league, and that's why it's a shame that we haven't won it. This is why I think this is the main reason why Jurgen Klopp has stayed, because he can't leave Liverpool on one league title, and he can't leave Liverpool on one league title during a pandemic with no supporters, because that, for me, is just not going to be sitting right with him. And even with us, there'll always be that tinge of regret. I speak to Rangers fans up here all the time, and Steven Gerrard was an absolute legend, icon, god up here. He's not now. He's not now because he's left. He's left after one league title. You're not a god, you're not a legend after one in one league. Not clubs like Rangers or clubs like Liverpool, even though Klopp is, but you know what I mean. So excuse me, it's hay fever again. You can't do it when you're live. So anyway, going through the 90s was amazing. Getting to the year 2000s, the Rafa Benitez era, loved that. Absolutely loved it. That was my favourite Liverpool team, along with. In fact, there's three teams I'm going to give you now. My three favourite Liverpool teams of all time. Now, my favourite Liverpool team of all time was the 90s team, because it was the era when I was a kid, when I looked at all the Liverpool players like a kid looks at Salah. They were my heroes. They were, you know, I love Steve McManaman. He was one of my favourite players. You don't get Steve McManamans anymore. The man could dribble past people walking. He used to just slow the ball down and skip past one, and people forget how good Steve McManaman was. Real Madrid signed him, and he went to Real Madrid and didn't sit on the bench. He was the fans' player of the season 2 years running, scored a scissor kick in the Champions League final, and won everything. And you know, and he played with probably the greatest Real Madrid team that there's ever been. He played in the era of Luis Figo, Ronaldo, Raul, Roberto Carlos. The best Real Madrid side, Zidane, you know, the best Real Madrid side that there ever has been. Morientes, you know, it was unbelievable, this team that he played with. Seedorf, everybody was there. So that was my favourite team, because I loved Robbie Fowler and I loved McManaman skipping down the wing, and them two together, Fowler and McManaman, were just two scousers just tearing it up, and I loved that. Second favourite team has got to be Jurgen Klopp's. I know it sounds mad to say that, but this is why I love doing these videos, because this is my view. You know, when I get the rest of these on, this is why I'm doing this video today. I want you to come on and do, and I'll interview you, and you can give me your eras. Second one for me is obviously this one, Mane, Firmino, Salah. I mean, how can you not love this team? And I think the reason why I like the other one better is because Liverpool wasn't expected to win every game back then, so you actually enjoyed it more, because you thought, yeah, we're winning, yeah, we're flying up the league, yeah, we could still do this. There was always that something special could happen. With Klopp's, you expect it, because they're that good. You just expect, don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but when Liverpool play now, do you not expect them to win that game? Every single game. Even when we're playing Man United now, you expect them to win the game. Even when you play in Arsenal, you expect them to win the game. So what I'm saying is, back in the 90s, Man United at home, they were always the favourites. Man United away, they were always the favourites. So the games became more intense, more nervous. I mean, I remember when it was Man United v Liverpool, I used to have butterflies and cramps in my stomach on the morning of the game. So it's just one of them. So I enjoyed the 90s more, because we weren't as good. And that sounds weird to say that, but I'm not a glory fan. You know, I've supported Liverpool from when they just finished being successful during the darkest 30 years they ever had. So I'm far from a glory fan. I've supported Liverpool since 1994, 95, right? We didn't win a league, we didn't win any leagues. We won a couple of League Cups and FA Cups by the time we got to Rafa Benitez's days. So, or Gerard Houllier. So Gerard Houlier's team, that was another one that I loved, and I had the pleasure of meeting Gerard Houllier at Anfield, and it's one of the most loveliest stories I'll ever tell anybody. Now, I could see a little bit of commotion going on down at the corner of the Anfield Road end, so there was a few people there with cameras getting set up on a tripod and all that. I was just doing my job. I used to be, my area of looking after at Anfield was the Anfield Road end. That was what I did on match days. That's the area that I had to keep mint for yourselves whilst you were in the ground and before you got there and when you left. So anyway, they're in the corner. The foreign people, I could hear like they're fast speaking and all that. Anyway, as I've gone down there, I could hear like, clearly I know French. You can know French when you can hear French speaking. So anyway, I just carried on my job. I had my radio on and I started cleaning all the front row of the seats at Anfield Road. So I just going through every seat, cleaning it. So about half an hour into it, I got right into my job, as I've always done. Whatever job I'm doing, I get into it, as everyone does. And I just get this little tap on the back of my shoulder like that, just at the top of my neck. And this was during the pandemic. This was only like a couple of months after we'd shut the stadiums down. So you can imagine contact and, you know, all this kind of bullshit. I say bullshit, what it was. Turned around, it's Gerard Houllier tapping me on the shoulder. And straight away he puts his hand out like that. And I just grab his hand like that. And he goes, how you doing? Are you okay? And I went, yeah, cheers, Gerard. I said, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. He said, yeah, just cleaning. I goes, welcome home. That's all I said to him. And his face, he just see when I said that, welcome home, he absolutely glowed. So this is the funniest thing. So I'm absolutely buzzing. I just shook the hand of the man that made Steven Gerrard captain, the man that led us through the 2001 treble. And what a bloke to actually look at somebody. It's just cleaning. I was just a cleaner at Anfield. I wasn't Klopp's assistant. I was just a cleaner. I maintained the stadium's high standards. That was it. But for him to come over to a cleaner, tap him on the shoulder and shake his hand, shows you exactly what that era of football players were like. They're not like they are these days, up their own arse, stuck up multi-millionaires that don't want to bother with a single supporter, right? That was the era of where Shankly used to say is, I'll help sweep the steps of the Kop, I'll help clean the seats. Bob Paisley used to flip and do every job at Liverpool, not just being a manager. He was the physio, he was the kit man, he was the boot room boy, he'd sweep the streets, he'd clean the stands. That to me was an old school football manager saying, hey, I'm going to go and shake the hand of one of the lads that works here, because they're the most important people in the stadium, the ones that you don't see, that are getting everything prepped, and including the fact that it was during the pandemic, the ones that I got COVID, cleaning the Madrid, the Alfred Road end after Madrid had just came and completely brought, and bear in mind Madrid were the worst hit city in Europe at the time. That's how I got COVID, and listen, people died from COVID, so I could have given my life for the football club that I love, but I didn't really think about that. I never have done. I've been a bit crazy the way I think. So anyway, this was the funny thing that happened afterwards. I got pulled in the office. Security. Neil, why did you shake Gerard Houllier's hand? I said, excuse me. I said, he put his hand out to me. Do you actually think that I'm going to go, if Gerard Houllier, an absolute legend of this football club, sticks his hand out to me, you want me to go like that? How disrespectful would that be? And I said, I don't care. So more or less, they were, because of COVID, because of touching him, you can see why they would have been worried about it. But listen, Gerard Houllier put his hand out to me. I'm not going to cold shoulder him and just ignore him. Shook his hand, gave him a warm welcome, and a threat, a multi-millionaire icon of football with the respect that he deserved. So, all being the security passed me through and said, no worries, Neil, because they checked the footage and they seen that Gerard put his hand out to me. So that just shows you the world we live in. But I'll never forget that day, because a few months later he passed away, and I was heartbroken. I seen that on Sky Sports News, and I was like, what a man. And then to that day, I'll never forget Gerard Houllier, not just for the team that I loved that he had. I mean, signing players like Sami Hyypiä, signing people like Steve Finnan. What a fabulous footballer Steve Finnan was. People like, I think it was Steve Finnan, or was that Rafa? I can't remember. Anyway, Sami Hyypiä, getting him from Willem II for, what, £2 million. Bringing in Steven Gerrard as captain. Taking the armband off Sammy was a masterstroke. I mean, can you imagine if he didn't do that, Stevie would not have been captain? Madness, isn't it, to think like that? And then obviously the team we had, Jari Litmanen, loved him. What a player he was. I wish we'd have signed him 5 years earlier, because he was like Bobby Firmino is. If you want to know what Bobby Firmino is like as a player, watch Jari Litmanen, because that was what Bobby Firmino was, the same sort of player. So I love that era. Danny Murphy in midfield, Patrick Berger. It's just a fabulous era. I mean, I loved that era. Yeah, it was just, Gerard Houllier years. Who could not love them days? Emil Heskey, Michael Owen up front for a bit, was especially against Roma in the day that Gerard came back from his heart attack. So yeah, so that's up there with another great era that I loved. And obviously we've got the Rafa Benitez era. The midfield we had then: Xabi Alonso, Momo Sissoko, Steven Gerrard. I mean, come on, that midfield, Momo Sissoko. I remember Momo with his glasses, and then obviously we had, Torres up front, and Daniel Agger at the back. I mean, Anfield then. I mean, they were some great years, weren't they, under Rafa? And why did you go to Everton, Rafa? All you can think now when you think of Rafa Benitez is Everton, which is stupid because he should never have gone there. He's just tarnished his reputation in the city now. Because even Everton fans respected him for what he'd done at Liverpool, but now they don't, they fucking hate him. But it's funny that, isn't it? But yeah, so Klopp's years, I'm not really going to go too much into detail with Klopp because he's not finished yet. And I just think that that would be not right. Because he's got another 3-4 years left. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with Salah signing the new deal because it means more goals. But what I'm looking forward to is scooping as many trophies as we can, right? Whilst Klopp's here. But then I'm not stupid. Football's all cycles. Be prepared to be going through spells again like we did. Like Man United are going through right now. Because you can't be brilliant forever. You'll end up going through a bad patch a couple of years, 2 years, 3 years. Sometimes it's only 18 months your bad patch. But there will be a bad patch again. And it'll probably come when Jurgen leaves. Because Jurgen's a unique football man, a unique person, and there'll be a bump in the road after that. Now, who comes to sort the bump in the road? Steven Gerrard, probably in my opinion. And by then, he'll have another 3-4 years at Premier League experience. And I've just seen news that Aston Villa are extending their stadium to 52,000. They're a big football club, Villa. He's going to be competing for Europe and possibly in Europe over the next couple of seasons. So he'll be ready. And I just think that, it sounds mad to say this, but I'm a mad person. I'm actually looking forward to when we do have a dip again so that we can come back again, because I just think it can be boring. If you're just winning every single week, like Rangers and Celtic, it's boring. If you're winning every single week, it's, you know, it just becomes, oh yeah, we'll beat them. I don't want to, I love the not knowing. I love not knowing if we're getting that with Man City because Man City is so good, and Newcastle will now be a big club coming over the next few years. So I think we'll get that anyway. But what I mean is, when you get bumps in the road, it makes them nights special again. Do you know, like obviously under Klopp, it took us a couple of years to get back into the Champions League, and it was great just seeing the progress. So what I mean is, when we have that little fall again, I can't wait for us to come back up again, because clubs like Liverpool will always come back. So all I'm saying is, being a Liverpool fan, this is how I'll finish this video right now. You take the highs, you take the lows, and you just keep supporting the club at the same level all the way through. You don't change. You go through the 80s, you go through the 90s, you go through the 2000s, the 210s, the 220s, and you still don't change. You remember the days of Roy Hodgson, you remember the days of Gerard Houllier, you remember the days of Brendan Rodgers, and you remember the days of Jurgen. And you just go, got through it. I got through it with either some great days, some horrendous days, but that is the job of a Liverpool supporter. You'll never walk alone.